I can just open this webinar right now. So hello everybody. This is the first webinar related to IN4ACT activities in Kaunas Technical University. We are planning to have a couple of webinars like this, several, maybe 4 or 5, in a weekly, let's call it matter. And each time one of our researchers will do the presentation regarding the Industry 4.0 related questions and topics. Those are really hot topics nowadays. And one of our members, as a kind of discussant or a moderator, if you like, will join to this presentation. For sure, the target is having your contribution during this webinar and having a very interactive discussion and hopefully fruitful. Speaking about the webinar topic, I can start with introducing our colleague Morteza, who is going to present this special topic. The name is Beyond the Hype of Industry 4.0, Separating Realities from Myths. And about Morteza himself, Morteza is an ERA Chair team member at the School of Economics and Management in KTU. He holds a PhD in industrial engineering and specializes in technology adoption and acceptance in the Industry 4.0 era, the business value of digitalization, the business value of hybrid manufacturing systems, and etc. He has more than 10 years of experience serving as a field engineer and a technology implementation consultant in the manufacturing industry. He has a very deep experience in teaching and supervising PhD students. So that being said, I would love to have your comments, questions, and step-ins during this discussion via the chat box in the right actually side of the screen, or you can simply ask your valuable questions at the end of Morteza's presentation. We will have more than 10 or 15 minutes time to have fruitful discussions. By the way, the information related to these webinars are available on in4act.ktu.edu/events. So you can simply have access to this information, and you can have access to our team members. So that being said, I want to give the floor to Dr. Morteza. Please, Morteza, start your presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Peiman.
You're welcome, Morteza.
Allow me to start sharing the screen. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the seminar titled Beyond the Hype of Industry 4.0, Separating Reality from Myths. My name is Morteza, and I'm a full-time IN4ACT researcher, and I'm happy to present this topic to you. In this webinar, we will go briefly through 4 major topics. We will review the history of Industry 4.0 and provide a technical definition of this phenomenon. We also review what the building blocks of Industry 4, the benefits that this phenomenon may offer, and eventually we have a discussion on what digital transformation under Industry 4.0 might mean. And at the end, we have a review on what's the hype, what's the reality, and what we should do about that. Nowadays, everybody is talking about Industry 4.0, from academia to the industry, and in some countries, this topic has become presidential debate, such as Korea. There are eye-watering benefits advertised for Industry 4.0, and it's being advertised as the cream of crop, as a remedy to solving all the problems within the various industries. The point is, Industry 4.0 might not be as revolutionary as you might expect. The point is because Industry 4.0 is in its early stages, it's not mature enough to deliver all its intended benefits, and actually there are a lot of hypes surrounding this phenomenon. So the first thing that we need to know about Industry 4.0 is that this thing hasn't started in 2011. The term just become popular after 2011, but this is an ongoing revolution that has been happening for the past few centuries, and Industry 4.0 is actually building on the pillars of the third industrial revolution. But some technologies are more available in this revolution, and the role of AI is much artificial intelligence is way more significant, and we are dealing with the issue of autonomous decision making across various digitized ecosystem, which characterize Industry 4.0 as a revolutionary phenomenon. The history aside, let's talk about two important issues surrounding this topic. First, the scope of Industry 4.0, and second, the definition of Industry 4.0. So there are conflicting perspectives regarding the scope of Industry 4.0. The initial understanding was that Industry 4.0 is about the digitalization of manufacturing industry, and everything is happening inside the walls of the factory. Later, some communities and academics argued that Industry 4.0 is not just about manufacturing industry. Digitalization is happening across various industries, and later Industry 4.0 scope was defined as the digitalization of the entire value chain. It's a big difference based on the way we define the scope of Industry 4.0. The process that this digital transformation should be planned and executed is absolutely different. To better understand, what perspective is correct or what's going on within the literature, we conducted a very comprehensive research. We literally extracted every single research paper published in reputable journals addressing the issue of Industry 4.0 to understand, how the scope of Industry 4.0 should be defined. And we noticed that earlier in 2015, 16, and 17, the majority of research decided to define the scope of Industry 4.0 as the digitalization of the manufacturing industry. And later on, as we can see on this figure, the dark green line versus the orange line, around 2019, the coin flipped, and nowadays more studies are proposing that Industry 4.0 scope should be the digitalization of the entire value chain, instead of just focusing on the manufacturing digitalization. Now, putting the scope of the Industry 4.0 aside, we are now struggling with defining what Industry 4.0 means. Actually, there is no unified and largely accepted definition of Industry 4.0. This phenomenon is very elusive, and actually nowadays workshops and seminars are continuously happening, in an effort to providing a unified definition of Industry 4.0. One justification is that this phenomenon is very complex, so it has a lot of subsystems actually, so it's very hard to define it. To address this issue, an important stream of research tries to define Industry 4.0 based on its building blocks, which are technology trends and design principles. Technology trends are advanced digital information and operations technologies that enable companies to achieve benefits that are advertised as a result of transforming toward Industry 4.0. But design principles are a collection of desirable or necessary conditions that enable organization to successfully implement those technologies and to achieve the digital transformation necessary for Industry 4.0 to deliver its benefits. If you look at the figure attached at the end of this slide, which is named the framework for digital transformation success under Industry 4.0, we can see that this digital transformation is a combination of implementing advanced technology trends of Industry 4.0 and developing principles of Industry 4.0. These principles include things like interoperability or real-time capability. But for this ecosystem to be able to deliver its intended advantages, a lot more things should be in place. There are some important success factors, technological, organizational factors that facilitate the process of creating this digital transformation. And this digitized ecosystem that is created under Industry 4.0 should also have certain properties to deliver its benefits. It should be of high quality. The system should have high quality. It should be secure, and other traits that are important, for being able to deliver its advantages. Speaking of the technology trends, this is where things get complicated within the scientific and industrial communities, and there are a lot of confusion surrounding these technologies. The point is, unfortunately, it's pretty common to limit Industry 4.0 and its underlying technologies to a collection of restricted, overhyped, or overhyped technologies with fancy names. Just saying that Industry 4.0 is just about implementing AI or additive manufacturing or augmented reality. But the reality is, and our research showed that, there are two collections of technologies that are dispensable for Industry 4.0, called core technologies and facilitating technologies. Core technologies are modern technological innovation, either digital, operational, or information technologies that have been around for the past few decades, but they are more commercially available nowadays, and they are very hyped and very highly regarded, and companies are really interested in implementing them, such as additive manufacturing, augmented reality, or nowadays blockchain. But the fascinating technologies of Industry 4.0 are those traditional, long-lasting, and mature information and digital technologies that enable those core technologies to be correctly implemented within the corporate level and to deliver the intended functions properly. So it means that Industry 4.0 implementation means Industry 4.0 means implementing a collection of a vast variety of both core and facilitating technologies. To better elaborate on this issue, let's look at the Industry 4.0 communication pyramid located at the left side of this slide. This communication pyramid shows that the things start, the basic things start at the smart connection level, where simple digital components and equipment such as sensors, actuators, or machine vision collect signals. These signals are later transferred to the shop floor level, where at the smart control level, machine controllers and PLCs, SCADAs are processing this data and transforming them to processing these signals and transforming to organized data. And this data is further transferred to the smart factory level, where manufacturing execution system conduct the monitoring and controlling of the processes and this control the stream of data. And further, this information is this data is transformed into information in this level and further transferred to the hyper-connected value chain level, where intelligent ERPs process this information and create meaningful knowledge, which further lead to the informed decision making and eventually very valuable advantages. So this communication pyramid here shows that just at the communication level, Industry 4.0 functions based on the collection of both core technologies and facilitating technologies. Another issue surrounding the technology in terms of Industry 4.0 is the level of complexity of technologies. It is widely advertised that you can simply go and buy and purchase these technologies from technology vendors. These are off-the-shelf products easily available to everybody. Yes, some of these core technologies are simpler ones that can be simply purchased, such as augmented reality goggles and other technologies. But concepts and technologies such as cyber-physical production systems or industrial Internet of Things are complex digitized systems usually developed and created inside organizations. They are developed based on a collection of other facilitating technologies and core technologies. Sensors, networks, controllers, even human beings are part of these complex digitized systems. So this means developing and creating these technologies requires companies to have this competency to leverage existing information technology and digital resources to create them. Means this process is time consuming and it's kind of limited to companies that they have the knowledge, expertise, and time to achieve this type of technology. Another important issue surrounding the issue, the topic of technology trends that should need our consideration is the overhype and the fancy naming of some of the technologies that we can see. Like on the figure on the right side, we have the concept of Internet of Everything, which is a collection of Internet of People, Internet of Services, or Internet of Data. But the point is, Internet of People is nothing new. It's the social media. It's the industrial use of social media for connecting consumers to the service or technology providers, or for connecting employees at various departmental level inside the corporation. Also, Internet of Services is not nothing fancy or new. Internet of Services means, the sensor-enabled smart product which can communicate with the technology or service provider. So these service or technology providers or producers, they can implement new monetization schemes based on the services they can offer. Example of this Internet of Services is what is Tesla doing with their automobiles. They're offering different type of soft services, and they charge more for those services in their automobile. To have a more clear understanding of what this hyper-connected digitized system means under Industry 4.0, I have created this Industry 4.0 archetype showing different components of a digitized system under Industry 4.0. As you can see, there are major components in this archetype. We have a smart factory, and if we go in detail for the smart factory, we can see a lot of use case for these modern technologies such as additive manufacturing, augmented reality. These technologies, when you use collectively and coupled with those design principles and important conditions such as interoperability or decentralization or real-time capability, will create this concept of factory of future or smart factory, which offers the utmost level of digitization, product qualities, process reliability, and many other advantages. We can see how complex this ecosystem, this digitized hyper-connected ecosystem is. And this smart factory is just one of the many major components of the system. If we go deeper into the smart suppliers or smart logistics systems, we can see the same level of complexity and the same use cases of technologies there. So now you can imagine that if you go with the supply chain or value chain digitalization perspective for defining the scope of Industry 4.0, you can see how complex this hyper-connected ecosystem can get. Speaking of the design principles, again, there are a lot of confusion regarding these principles, and there is no unified or widely accepted categorization of these principles. But our research shows that real-time capability is the more important and widely acknowledged capability of Industry 4.0. Real-time capability means every component of a system, regardless of the scale, even at the corporate level or at the supply chain level, they should be able to communicate with other peer components when necessary in real time. So this is very important. Horizontal and vertical integration means different components of this digitized ecosystem at the corporate level and across various departments or layers, and the various components across the supply chain should be integrated and have the capability to communicate with each other. And this long list of different principles goes on. Now that we have a better understanding of what Industry 4.0 may mean and what the scope of this phenomenon is, let's talk about the benefits of Industry 4.0. Our research shows that the majority of the benefits that Industry 4 may offer is limited to the corporate level, which determine the economic benefits. The social and environmental implications of Industry 4.0 is actually much limited compared to the economic benefits that it offers. Regarding the economic productivity impacts of Industry 4.0, we have a wide range of manufacturing productivity metrics delivered by Industry 4.0 technologies, such as improved production monitoring and control, labor productivity, reduced inventory, and The rest of items, and concerning the business competitiveness opportunities that Industry 4.0 may offer, the more important item is organizational agility, which is not actually unexpected, because flexibility and agility is an important design principle of Industry 4.0. And we have other important opportunities such as supply chain integration or increased profitability. And interestingly, at the end, we have improved corporate image, meaning that increasing the corporate image and branding of the organization just by advertising that we are digitalized is an important opportunity that Industry 4.0 may offer to corporate level. Regarding the socio-environmental implications and at the social level, social benefit levels, we have product individualization or enhanced consumer experience, followed by better working conditions of labor, new employment opportunities, and reduced cost of consumer goods. These are the 5 more important social benefits of Industry 4.0. And for environmental benefits, we have resource efficiency, waste reduction, reduced emission, energy efficiency, and sustainable product development, possibly offered by Industry 4.0. We have covered the so-called and highly advertised benefits of Industry 4.0, but there are certainly negative impacts associated with this phenomenon, and our research shows that the first negative impact would be the disruption of labor market. Like any innovation, like the information technology that happened in 1970s and 1980s, that created so many jobs, but also eliminated many jobs. The same thing is happening with Industry 4.0. It's creating a lot of jobs, but also it's removing a lot of low-skill jobs. The next, but very more important issue is the threat of polarization of labor market. The point is, under Industry 4.0 scenario, the skilled group of a more elite group of people who already have access to high skilled jobs, higher income, and they have better resources to become more prepared for the future high skilled jobs that Industry 4.0 may create. They have higher opportunity to create more, to increase their income actually. But at the same time, lower skilled employees who probably have already lost their jobs, they don't have the necessary resources to ensure that themselves or their future generation, they have the necessary competency to become ready for the highest skilled jobs that Industry 4.0 may offer. And this vicious loop, when continues, can create major income inequality issues across any country that eventually will lead to social unrest, and we are already seeing some sign of these issues across many advanced countries. The other important issue is that the same issue is happening at the corporate or country level. Who are the leaders of digitalization and Industry 4.0? The mega corporation, the tech giants who dictate the pace of digitalization, who they can decide what consumers and suppliers should do, how should they digitize, and what's the new standard of digitalization. They have everything available to them to become digitized. But more typical companies, they usually don't have the necessary power, resources, or knowledge to become competent for for Industry 4.0 transformation. And this massive discrepancy will create a technological gap and further income inequality at the corporate level, which eventually will lead to the economic inequality at the country level. Another important issue is the fact that, yes, Industry 4.0 is good because it creates a smarter, more personalized, and more fancy new goods and products. But the point is, these digitized and smarter products, thanks to the advancement of digital industry, they have much shorter lifespan. They are less reliable. They break much faster. They are much more complex, and they are way more resource intensive. Actually, for example, the official results of some investigation regarding the automobile products shows that the more advanced cars that nowadays they have up to 100 sensors and processors across the automobile. They are much less reliable compared to the older generations. They break much faster. They are harder to repair. They are way more resource intensive, and in many cases they have much lower lifespan. As a result of these issues, Industry 4.0 eventually will lead to overconsumption and rebound effect in energy and resources. And if this negative situation get prolonged, we will face the issue of environmental degradation and eventually will lose our resource basis for the future generation. Now that we have talked about what Industry 4 might mean and what kind of benefits and negative impacts it might have, let's talk about how typical companies can ensure that they are successful in their digital transformation journey.
Excuse me, Morteza. Yeah. Sorry for the interruption. Can I ask a question?
Yes.
From the previous slide? You mentioned, for example, that for technology, some of them are not reliable and they might make some waste and problems. And in the previous slides, you mentioned that the technologies are available in Industry 4.0. My question is this: is Industry 4.0 about technologies and the problems that they bring into our life, or it is about the performance that Industry 4.0 is trying to give us? I mean, shouldn't we keep sometimes the technologies independent of Industry 4.0 while Industry 4.0 is covering all the technologies? Because your examples seems to me that was more technological difficulties. So could you please answer this part of the question? Sorry.
Yeah, actually, that's a very interesting question. This roots in this over advertisement that is happening over Industry 4.0. If we hold the technology-based perspective, in defining Industry 4.0, that is all just about digitalization of manufacturing industry or supply chain routes or transport routes and infrastructure, then we are not dealing much with the issue of the negative impacts that Industry 4.0 might have in terms of this overconsumption and rebound effects, stuff like that. But the point is, academia and more importantly, technology providers are overhyping. I don't know if whether it's good or bad, it's intentional or not, but they are doing it. They are increasing the scope of Industry 4.0. They are linking Industry 4.0 to every possible future direction for digitalization. They say that nowadays the smart cities fall under Industry 4.0. We have the topic of Society 5 or Healthcare 4.0 or Transportation 4.0. And they all say that, okay, Industry 4.0 is a very hyper-connected, massive ecosystem, and they are all interrelated. It's not happening today, but in 10, 20, or 30 years, we will have a very massive, hyper-connected value delivery ecosystem in which every possible player in this ecosystem is linked, interrelated. So if you want to stay successful as a company, as a corporate, if you want to become you want to ensure your survival in the future, you need to be part of this massive digitized system. And whether it's real or not, the industry and the academia and many scientific communities, even governments, are nowadays more inclined, to follow with this path and with this idea. Okay, so if we are thinking like this, then smart products are a part of Industry 4.0. Then at the same time, we are dealing with technologies at technology level. We are talking about the consumer behavior at the consumer level. We are talking about the digitized consumers and smart products and the negative and positive impacts that might be associated.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. And the other point was when we are talking about negative aspects or impacts of Industry 4.0, sometimes some blueprints are more disputed, like about jobs. That we know, experience speaking historically, data is giving that based on the other industrial revolutions, we had job transformations, and at the end of the day, it wasn't so bad. I mean, some jobs disappeared. Sorry for them, but again, it turned to a kind of good point at the end, and people might feel happier at the end. I mean, should we put these points in the negative impacts of Industry 4.0? Is it Is it Industry 4.0, let's call it failure, or it is culture-based, or let's call it socio-economic concept? This is my
Very, very interesting. To be honest, it's not the fault of Industry 4.0 or this digital revolution that is happening. It's the fault of us not being able to manage it properly. Just take a look at what is happening around the world at the age of COVID and Industry 4.0. It's very interesting and unique experience, and we can see that. Okay, because of the COVID, less high-tech and less competitive companies are more in danger of shutdown, okay? But more advanced companies, they can, which usually offer more skilled jobs, all right? They can operate remotely. And people who have the skilled jobs already have their jobs in place, and they are making much more income than low skilled people who don't have job anymore right now. And it's happening everywhere. So it's happening this year. It probably finished by the end of this year, and it will become history. But even in this short period, it's causing a lot of undesirable conditions and pains and issues, and it shows how a double-edged sword Industry 4.0 is. It can give you the opportunity to work remotely and deal with crisis. At the same time, it can kill and destroy the smaller businesses and make larger businesses to thrive even more. What's happening to Amazon, it's becoming bigger, bigger, and bigger because the smaller businesses are dying and so on.
Excellent. Then I will ask some questions about COVID-19 situation at the end. So please continue. Thank you very much.
Right. Okay. So let's get back to how we can ensure that, because now it's very interesting. We talked about how a smaller business, less competitive businesses are more in danger of losing their competitiveness, and how they can ensure that they can be successful in digital transformation. This is an important part of the research we are doing in this in the IN4ACT team, and it involves creating a detailed roadmap to help businesses to understand what best practices and what necessary conditions should be in place if they want to be successful in their digitalization effort. And unfortunately, this is a very complex procedure. Why? Because we are enlarging and by expanding the scope of Industry 4.0. In this Industry 4.0 perspective, ERP, for example, is a very typical core facility technologies. But even now, a lot of ERP projects fail because it's very difficult to implement them. So now you can imagine how difficult it would be to move to digitalization at a very massive scale. So to make it short, there are many steps involved that businesses need to be aware of, such as we found that the first and the most important blocks here is the external support. Most of the typical companies, they don't have the necessary resources, knowledge, expertise, and other conditions. So external support is really necessary for them to make them competent for the transformation process. Also, the companies need to have competent management, and they need to have all the resources available to embark on the journey. Next, they need to be able to conduct the digitalization readiness pre-assessment. This is something that is largely ignored within the industry. This pre-assessment means companies, before deciding on Industry 4.0 transformation, they should think and understand what kind of talents they have, what kind of talent they are lacking, which part of the company should be digitized, and how it's going to serve the strategies, stuff like that. So if they don't do that, and if they go blindly for digitalization, they usually fail. If there is any benefit, these benefits tend to be accidental rather than planned. Also, business partners should be ready for digitalization. If you digitize your processes, but you cannot integrate with business partners, so how good it could be. Also, if all this situation is in place, they need to have the strategic road mapping for digitalization. They should have the necessary information technology expertise. They should have the competency to manage all the changes that is going to happen inside the company, because Industry 4.0 is very disruptive. Everybody knows that. And even if all this condition is existing, then they need to have the necessary operations and cybersecurity and information technology readiness. Why? because Industry 4.0 requires implementing a lot of new technologies and integrating these new technologies with the legacy one that already exists. So if they cannot integrate and if they cannot communicate with each other, they cannot serve the purpose. And even if you have such a huge, massive digitized system, if you cannot ensure that this is digitally secure and it's not prone to cyber attacks, then the failure is most likely imminent. We try to understand the best practices that can ensure the digital transformation success for different types of corporations. And the point is there is a very long list of these best practices that are very important. These best practices and their priority and importance differs based on the type of business, the type of industry, and other environmental factors. But overall, generally speaking, the literature believes that financial resource availability, operations, technology maturity, external support for digitalization, and the rest of items listed in this figure are the more important best practices necessary for this transformation, digital transformation. And please note that there are confusing terminology when it comes to best practices. These best practices, such as financial resource availability, when they are available favorably, they are regarded as enabler or driver. When they are lacking, they are regarded as barriers. So if there is some kind of misunderstanding within the literature, it's because of the type of naming they have decided on. Now let's talk about the reality of Industry 4.0 and what really is going on. Industry 4.0 is real and it's happening, and the pace of adoption of these technologies is gaining momentum. But the point is, it's not mature enough. It's at the earliest stages, and there is a long way to go. Experts believe that it takes 30 or 40 years in reality for Industry 4.0 to deliver those highly regarded objectives. And also, it's very important to note that the adoption rate and digitalization rate is absolutely different between different type of industries, different type of companies, and especially based on the business size, and even among different countries. Yes, it is true that Industry 4.0 scope is beyond the focal firms, and it's very transformative. It requires supply chain integration, and it's going to change everything for the typical companies. But the point is, it is not logical, and it's not even feasible for typical companies to abandon everything and focus all the resources for digitalization. It's not logical, it's not feasible. The point is, the piecemeal implementation of these digital technologies, when planned carefully and aligned with these corporate strategies, they can still provide very significant benefits. And when the company are successfully implementing some limited technologies, digital technologies, they would have the knowledge, expertise, and readiness to further expand their digitalization effort. Another point is regarding the impact of Industry 4.0. Majority of the manufacturing productivity-based benefits of Industry 4.0 is actually proven empirically. Why? Because these technology are not just limited to the past decade. They have been in use for the past 20, 30 years. Big boys, tech companies and leaders, industry leaders, they have been using these technologies for the past 20, 30 years. Nowadays, the technology are more economically viable for normal companies. So these productivity-based impacts are proven, but in reality, the socio-environmental implication of Industry 4.0 is just theoretical speculation. It's very valuable contribution done by the literature, just to create such understanding, but there is literally very limited to no empirical, evidence on how Industry 4.0 can contribute to social sustainability in particular. And last but not least, the digital transformation is not just about implementing digital technologies. It's just one of the many necessary requirements. Technologies are there, but companies should have the competency and capability to create and to ensure that those important design principles of Industry 4.0 are also in place. Also, they need to ensure that these technologies are in line with the strategic criteria of the companies. And a very good important source of for decision making is just for looking at their peers, competitors, and leaders to see what they're doing and to decide properly based on current trends within the industry. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to review this work. I just wanted to say that these are the major topics that we are currently working on, and we are absolutely open for collaboration on any of these topics with respectable faculty members or other research teams. Thank you very much, and giving you the floor.
Excellent. Thank you, Morteza, for this excellent presentation. I will ask our faculty members if they kindly have some questions. Morteza is in here. He can answer your top questions. So otherwise, I will ask very difficult questions. So it is up to you.
I hope
please go ahead.
Ask, yeah.
Yes, I hope they won't give me some time because, yeah, otherwise I will ask some fun questions, and that will be the difficult part of this presentation. Other, I am waiting for your question. Maybe you can turn on your your cameras. We can see some of your faces in here. Oh yes, thank you very much. Oh yeah, very welcome. Yeah, we can. Okay, you can simply ask questions. You can turn on your microphones and ask the questions. I'm sure you have tons of questions, but
yeah, I can ask
Morteza. yeah,
I can ask
ahead.
one question, Morteza. Thank you for your presentation. It was a really interesting one. I cannot avoid to extrapolate your presentation about one of my research topics, that is circular economy, because it's also one of the let's say topics that are really advertised in current days. So there is also this this trend of overestimating the scope and also the expectancies or the potentialities that circular economy could give to the current society. But when you get closer to the circular economy, there are very few real novelties that it brings to the scientific literature, in fact. So I'm talking about circular economy. In circular economy, the main the strength is the gathering in an inspirational way all the topics that were previously aborted, and also trying to get it in a more cooperative way, because it also let cooperate in between the value chains, and for example trying to coordinate, for example, recycling with reverse logistic, with the sharing economy and so on. Mm-hmm. But there is not really there are not many novelties in the topic itself.
Yeah, excellent question.
My question there is, do you think that Industry 4.0 brings also the opportunities to create, I mean, in the future, some novelties that could emerge also from this same dynamic that is trying to also get this comprehensive view?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you for the question. I guess certainly yes. If this very comprehensive level of logistic integration it should be created, to materials, the concept of the circular economy. And I think I'm not expert in that particular area. I'm pretty sure you're much more expert in that area. But it requires a very deep level of integration across various players of the value chain. So maybe a few years ago there was some technical difficulties and capabilities in terms of knowledge sharing and process integration, and even financial flow integration, which is much more easier right now thanks to the emergence of these digital technologies. So technologically speaking, we are getting to the point that this level of integration, collaboration, communication, and data sharing, particularly in real time, is much more viable. And thanks to the massive data analytics capabilities nowadays available, this massive amount of data that usually goes to the waste, now they can be analyzed, and informed decision can be made based on them, and a very good thing can happen. The point is there the will to do so or not? The industry usually have the capability to commit to sustainability in general term, but I don't believe they are forced to do that in particular. And why should they do this, and why should they invest in this particular area if it's not creating competitiveness or money or rent generation for them? So I guess technologically speaking, there are necessary infrastructure in place, but are there the will, are there the momentum to prioritize sustainability and circular economy and recycling and these important topics? The industry, I guess, say not much.
Excellent. Thank you very much, and thank you for the nice question, Manuel. We have a question from Asta. Yes, Asta, go ahead. You raised the hand.
Yeah, sure. It takes some time, to unmute and set the camera. Okay. So thanks a lot, Morteza, for your really comprehensive and systemic presentation of Industry 4. I have actually two questions. So one question is a question, and the other question is more a call, for interaction. So the first question is, to my experience while working with big industry companies, that even they sense the need of digitalization, digital transformation, they struggle to prove the benefits of digitalization in sense of really, especially going to the platform technologies, how they might monetize. Because for now, digital transformation is about spending money, like research. Yeah. But how to earn money while spending money. So this is my question, if you can come up with your position on that. And probably the other question is, I think it's very good initial presentation, really, to have the broad overview of Industry 4 and opportunities. But if you would invite us to cooperate you, what kind of research idea you would put on the table, or would you like to invite us to cooperate? If yes, on what specific project, research project?
Thank you very much.
Go ahead.
Yeah, tough question. Maybe Takis should answer this question. All right. Regarding the first question, I guess that's absolutely true. Industry, they usually don't start any specific kind of project, innovation project. Doesn't matter if it's digitalization or R&D technology project or whatever, unless the financial output is quite clear and it's positive. There is a saying, at least in my country, say that if you want to talk to a CEO about a new project, just talk about money and how much it's going to save them. So that's the reality of the things that most big companies can do it, or even the smaller ones. But they don't want to do it because they are not familiar with the relative advantages that these technologies may offer. The point is, some of the benefits are direct, majority of the benefits are indirect, and these indirect benefits, they usually, it's not immediate. It's not going to take a lot of time. You can see them in terms of improving competitive position, market share, stuff like that. It's going to take a few years. So this is what this pre-assessment is very important for any kind of digitalization project that is going to happen in a company. And this is why I'm saying that academia have to help with this part, because companies are usually reluctant to do so. They might have the necessary resources to do it, but they are usually reluctant. So if a new project is going to happen in a particular industry or company, the pre-assessment should be done for that, to clearly map every single necessary step. This is necessary. This is the resources should be in place. This is the expected cost and benefits, and we should have the detailed CBA analysis for that. And these are the direct advantage that might possibly happen, and this is the the more remote and indirect benefits. And usually, because I have a very deep ERP background, I used to do this. This is literally the same thing that your ERP, that every possible step should be planned in the form of kind of organizational project. And if the outcome is clear to the board of directors, then they probably will decide on the embarking on this project. Without this clear outcome, I'm pretty sure they won't be much.
Yeah, actually, you reminded me the other question big companies via digitalization have. Exactly, if you cannot show money, so what you can show. So probably the change of KPI system should be there. So
yeah.
What is your position on how the KPIs should change, and what are the other significant KPIs besides money that can come?
Money, yeah, absolutely. I think this is one of the topics that is priority of the IN4ACT team. I guess this is one of the stream that we can collaborate on, one of the topics we can collaborate on, and it's very interesting one, creating new KPIs for digitalization under Industry 4.0. And in information system background in general, past 50 or 60 years, 50 years, 40 years, and now about digitalization, one of the more important barriers to, for companies to embark on digitalization is the lack of the perspective of the top management on what can be achieved from Industry 4.0. And this is absolutely right. The new type of KPIs should be clearly defined, and these KPIs should be understandable and tangible to them. Because if this is not, it's too fancy, it's not technically understandable to the top management, they won't accept that. But if, for example, it's very difficult to create KPIs for Industry 4.0 because Industry 4 is very massive. If you are talking about consumers, we can set KPIs for that. Advertisement, collaboration, consumer satisfaction. Collaborative NPD and new product development, and capturing the opinions of consumers. This is just for the consumers. If we are talking about supply chain, so we can have certain KPIs for the digital supply network that is we are going to create. So these KPIs can involve, the way we can collaboratively manage knowledge. We can have physical flow integration. I mean, the physical transfer of goods are streamlined. How the transportation is optimized. How the planning is optimized. How we can collaboratively design new products. How can we collaboratively manage our inventory and keep efficiency. These are very wide areas of KPIs for just this particular part of supply chain. And again, we have the agility, how we can fast react to the market, and this is very important, market sensing, because nowadays the competition is so fierce. Everything is about market sensing. We should be ahead of our competitors to sensing and smelling the future trends in the market, so we can understand how important it is. And if we can explain how this particular project can lead to, for example, market sensing, and how this market sensing can be interpreted into money and return on investment at the end, I think this is an understandable and reliable item for the top management. But again, this is a very big comprehensive research that we done about.
Excellent. Yeah. Thank you very much for the question.
Yes. And still the second question remains.
Yes.
Yeah.
True.
Actually, these KPIs. Yeah, I was talking about the issue of KPI. I can talk on my own side. The topics that I'm interested in collaborating on is this technology road mapping for Industry 4.0. And when I was in my own country, I was closely collaborating with companies, because many of these road mappings and plans and strategic roadmaps should be idiosyncratic and unique to a particular firm, and it requires collaboration with the industry. And if I personally want to have this level of collaboration, which means that I have to first have collaboration with the entire, at least majority of the academic staff in the KTU, and we can manage this type of research. So this is a very important and interesting part for me to have some empirical research on at the firm level and for the training companies. What are they doing, what they need, and what are supposed to do for digitalization, what kind of help we can provide with them. Can we provide them with anything regarding the road mapping, and what is the current status of digitalization in Lithuania? And I think this is, for me, one of the very interesting topics. I'm really interested in collaboration.
Yeah, actually, one of our PhD students are asking that, what kind of help you can do, what you can provide to PhD students research. It might be the same question, similar question to Asta's question, that what you are offering, Morteza.
For PhD students in particular, depends on what they need and what the objectives of their questions are. In terms of technology road mapping, technology acceptance, implementation, the methodology, the development of the tools, methods, or guiding them to find the correct estimate of within the literature. All these issues. If I'm competent enough and and aligned enough to their research objectives, I can be absolutely of any help to them if they want it.
Yeah, excellent. Then great. Our PhD students always are very welcome to find Morteza, to find us. We are in here, and we are at the end of our session today. Even though if you have any question, you can ask. We have 1 minute. If not, I will just summarize my takeaways. That what I understood from this interesting presentation. So I wasn't part of that. I was just in here as a moderator. Morteza did all the job. But my understanding is that, if I want to summarize it, is that we need to take bold steps towards integration. Being shy for small companies will end with what we can see with their just expiration, that they just disappear. The other one is the thinking holistically and not just functionally. And it is what I understood from your presentation. So maturity evaluation is very important for your Industry 4.0 level. And other one was about this. Maybe it can be related to Asta's question, that improving employee value instead of targeting just the cost reduction would be a kind of strategic plan. For example, if you just think about your ideas, that for the short term what we can do, then not considering the long term, we will have problem. The difference between people like Elon Musk, that they are not governmental organization, is that they think holistically, they think long termly, while they are benefiting from the short term functions. Yeah. So what else? Was it fun?
Yeah.
Okay, it was the first session. We will have 3 or 4 more sessions again, and I wish we will have more participants in the coming sessions. So we will have it better and better, room for improvements. It was just breaking the ice and just preparing something. So a blessing in disguise, what they tell, that just in this difficult situation, we brought together valuable people around Kaunas and around the world. So I thank you for your participation. Let's keep this kind of meetings, and see you for the next meeting. Please stay tuned.
Yeah.
And
the next meeting is next Friday.
Next Friday. Oh my God, you will have another meeting for next Friday. So it will be another fun. So yeah.
Thank you.
See you.
Thank
Take
you,
care.
Peiman.
Bye bye.
Thank you, Morteza.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.